Hello and welcome to September 2025 edition of Macro and Market Update. This month we focus on India. One of the most significant policy announcements in August came from Prime Minister Modi during his Independence Day speech, a commitment to rationalize India's goods and services tax structure. Introduced in 2017, GST aims to unify India's complex indirect tax system. However, the current 5-slab structure has led to classification disputes and compliance challenges. Minor changes in product definitions often shift items into higher tax brackets, causing litigation and uncertainty. The proposed reform seeks to simplify GST into 3 slabs: 5% for essentials, 18% for standard goods and services, and 40% for sin and luxury items. This move is expected to reduce complexity, improve compliance, and lower costs for businesses, especially MSMEs. Consumers may benefit from price reductions on daily use items, potentially boosting consumption in sectors like FMCG, electronics, and affordable housing. This initiative follows earlier steps to stimulate demand, including personal income tax and easing retail lending norms. Together, these measures signal the government's concern over weak consumption trends and its intent to revive domestic demand in India. The GST Council is expected to deliberate on rate changes in early September. A key issue will be the treatment of compensation cess, which could influence overall revenue outcomes for the government. 2 scenarios are likely. One, where tax cuts are offset by hikes elsewhere, resulting in no net revenue loss, and another, where cess items don't align with new slabs, leading to a shortfall that must be shared between centre and states. The extent of consumer benefit and inflation moderation will also depend on how producers pass on tax savings. Globally, countries like Singapore and Australia have succeeded with the simpler GST models. India's rationalization could align its system with international best practices, enhancing ease of doing business and long-term growth. Apart from the multiple tax slabs, Indian GST structure also suffers with inverted duty structure, which continues to hinder seamless input tax credit utilization. Additionally, the transition to a fully digital and transparent assessment system has seen a limited progress thus far, which, if implemented, could also enhance efficiency and accountability. These reforms are also desired. As the Council debates specifics, stakeholders agree on one point: rationalization is inevitable. The challenges lie in balancing simplicity, revenue needs, and consumer impact, a delicate act that will define GST's next chapter. The US government's 25% tariff on India came into effect on 7th of August, and another 25% kicked in on 27th August. Recall that the US accounts for nearly 22 to 20% of India's goods export, that is 2.2% of GDP, of which 1/3 remains exempt from tariffs such as pharmaceuticals, critical minerals, and fuels, and some sectors face differential tariffs such as auto, steel, and aluminium. One can argue that the effective tariff rate is then closer to 35%, lower than 50%. However, if it sticks for even 6 months, India's GDP growth can get impacted, and much of the burden would fall on labor-intensive sectors such as jewelry, textile, and food items. At these rates, tariff on India will be higher than neighboring economies. The Indian rupee breached the mark of 88 against US dollar in August, depreciating 2.7% year to date. Amongst the emerging market currencies, the rupee stands out as a rare underperformer, while most others have strengthened against the dollar. This weakness is largely attributed to foreign investor outflows from equities, driven by concerns on growth and profitability, exacerbated by recent tariff tensions. Despite this, the broader outlook for the dollar remains soft, which tempers the concern about further rupee depreciation over the next 6 months. Despite the robust official statistics on India's GDP, growth sentiment in India is fragile. September may witness temporary weakness, especially as new export orders slow due to high tariffs. If GST rate cuts are delayed, consumers may defer purchases, adding to the slowdown. Official GDP data may not fully reflect this softness. The statistic use of single deflation rather than double deflation could overstate real growth in India amidst falling commodity prices. More concerning is the trend in nominal GDP growth, which affects tax collection, corporate revenues, and hence private investment appetite. However, this slowdown may prompt the government to accelerate reforms. The GST rationalization announcements signals intent, and further trade and domestic reforms could follow. Fiscal stress is gradually building. Potential GST cuts, export incentives, rising defense expenditure, and weak direct tax collections are likely straining the budget. Fortunately, lower than expected global oil prices offer some relief. The government may leverage this by increasing oil cess or securing higher dividends from oil PSUs. Even if nominal growth disappoints, fiscal slippage at the current point seems likely to be modest, say around 0.1 to 0.2% of GDP. This could get financed easily via short-term bills rather than heavier bond issuance. At the state level too, expenditure is currently outpacing revenue, but overall deficits and borrowings are expected to stay within the budgeted limits. However, SDL supply may remain elevated through December 2025 and then moderate from there on. Indian equities hit a pause in July and August after the upward move of the past few months, as rising equity supply and adverse trade tariffs outcomes weighed on the markets, though GST news provided some support. The Nifty and the Sensex declined marginally in August. This decline in Indian equities occurred even as global equities continued to surge, prompting FPIs to sell after having been net buyers over the course of Q1 FY26. The equity market complexion has indeed turned defensive of late, with the consumer sectors and healthcare emerging as the top performers in August. We continue to maintain a neutral view on equities, driven by near-average equity valuations relative to the bond yields, as measured by the earnings yield to bond yield spread, as well as neutral readings on our equity market sentiment measure. However, within equities, we advocate a defensive positioning given the slower growth backdrop, with quality being preferred style. India's 10-year government bond yield has risen by approximately 20 basis points since July, despite supportive domestic macro conditions such as benign inflation, a sovereign rating upgrade, stable crude prices, and subdued domestic growth. The RBI shift to a neutral stance and its halt on open market operation purchases amid surplus liquidity have likely contributed to this upward move. Market caution may also reflect weaker tax collections, though both central and states could stick to the budgeted borrowing plans, at least for this year. A key driver of pressure at the long end has been the surge in longer-dated state development loan issuances. Year to date, SDL issuances are up by 42% on a year-on-year basis, with Q2 FY26 seeing a sharp spike. Notably, 65% of this supply has been in maturities beyond 15 years, well above the historical average of 40 to 50%. This has coincided with a moderation in demand from banks for SLR securities and reduced appetite from long-term investors like insurers and the NPS, who are increasingly tilted towards equities. The absence of RBI's OMO's purchase since June has further widened the spreads at the long end. Spreads in the 5 to 15-year segment of government bond are running above their 3 to 5-year trend. However, yields could ease in the coming months, driven by two factors. India's growth inflation mix may prompt RBI easing, and secondly, a shift in issuance tenor could help contain an upward pressure. While we remain flexible on duration, a tactical approach is prudent for managing longer profiles. Supportive domestic conditions, sub-target inflation, soft growth and liquidity surplus must be weighed against external risks like tariffs and global rate volatility. The cumulative impact of past rate cuts and terminal rate expectation will shape yield direction. On a risk-reward basis, short tenor high-grade bonds and selective credits offer attractive spreads and accrual. These segments present compelling opportunities throughout the rest of the year. Signing off for this month. Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risk. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.